Hello and welcome to the CX Green Room, where we go backstage with the biggest hitters in customer experience. Very excited about the theme that we have for you today, which is about building a really inclusive contact center for your employees and ultimately your customers. Joining us today, and I'm your host, Claire Beattie. Ginger Conlon is my co-host. We have Kyle Johnson, who is President and CEO of Lighthouse Works of Central Florida and Lighthouse of Central Florida. I hope I got that right. I feel like I got it wrong. Welcome, Kyle. Thank you so much for joining us. Please tell us a little bit about your organization and your role, and then we'll get into some of the details.
Sure. It's great to be with you. Thank you so much for inviting me. I've been thinking about this session all week since we spoke. And boy, am I getting to know Genesis since the Inspire event, and then now this. It's been a lot of fun. I'm the president and CEO of these two organizations, Lighthouse Central Florida and Lighthouse Works. And Lighthouse Central Florida actually is our founding organization. And if you are born visually impaired or blind or become so at any age, Lighthouse Central Florida is the only organization to turn to in Central Florida to receive just life-changing vision rehabilitation, training, education, advocacy, so on and so forth. And it's like your typical community-based nonprofit. Living off of a lot of philanthropy and things of that nature. But about 12 years ago, the organization's leaders saw some of the writing on the wall, so to speak, where eye disorders are going to double between today and 2050. Central Florida is a very popular place for aging people, certainly after they retire. And, and we had no really sound sustainability model for the organization. And we're helping under 1,000 people today, and there could be 40, 60, 70,000 people we could be helping in our market. So we created Lighthouse Works as a subsidiary social enterprise nonprofit, and basically it's a business with a double bottom line. One, create competitive careers for people who are visually impaired or blind, and then two, generate really redeployable revenue we can use to fuel the services across town at Lighthouse Central Florida. And so we've grown a lot. And I became CEO about 3.5 years ago. I think we had 83 employees. Today we're probably nearing 550. And a lot of that has to do with our call center growth. Certainly the pandemic created a tailwind for us. There was a labor shortage in the open market, and we know 7 out of 10 Americans who are blind are not employed. So there's a lot of bandwidth there. And then, and with process technology and training, contact center jobs are very, very suitable for individuals who are blind.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Really excited to get to know more about your business, and particularly about the contact center, learning about how you, give these opportunities to visually impaired Americans and empower them in your contact center. First of all, this is the Green Room. We call it the Green Room for a reason.
We do. And, since you are a CX industry heavy hitter, that means that, when you're in the Green Room, you have expectations. And so, well, first of all, I know you've already introduced yourself, but we need your walk-on song. So just a moment here.
Funny story about that I'll share with
you. All right, a little bit of the Rolling Stones to get us going.
Yeah, so that was a bit of tongue-in-cheek for my colleagues who were at the Inspire event, because I get on a soapbox about this stuff. I'm extremely nerdy about it. And so the lyrics, if you start me, I'll never stop, were.
Well, so we have that, but we also have your requested Green Room item. So tell us what that is and why you chose it.
Well, I mean, there are so many things I could have chosen, but I happen to have a deep affinity, maybe it's passion for homemade brownies. And I just always have. I'm dangerous around them. I'll black out and eat the whole pan. But yeah, brownies were my request this time.
Well, it's very hard to cut a small brownie, I have to say. And all of my attempts may have been eaten.
It's fortunate. Yeah. Brownies are meant to be big. At least in my house.
Ginger, I think you need to share about how you actually sent Kyle the brownies.
Okay, well, very quickly. So Kyle said his favorite brownies are actually Ghirardelli, homemade brownies are actually Ghirardelli out of the box. So I went to the supermarket, got some Ghirardelli brownies, cooked them up, wanted to make sure that they arrived safely traveling from New York to Florida. So I would say that they are wrapped in probably 10 layers of protective Glad wrap, whatchamacallit, parchment paper, silver foil, bubble wrap, you name it, it's wrapped in it.
Nuclear ready. We get nearly every year we get pretty tremendous hurricanes through Central Florida, and I'm really happy to hear that should we have one, my brownies will be fine.
They will be protected.
Well, Kyle,
thank you very much.
You can be very thankful that I was not posting the brownies. As I shared with you earlier, we had the smoke alarm going off in the house about 15 minutes before this call started, and those were down to the brownies. So I'm not quite so enthusiastic about how mine are going to fare.
I'd still eat them.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, let's get started. And Kyle, you alluded to this earlier, but your contact center is very unique. You employ visually impaired and blind individuals for contact center roles. But tell us how that works.
Well, again, I mentioned process, technology, and training. Anything's possible, right? And technology is actually, as you all are the experts in, technology is massive when it comes to contact center work. And so, we have agents who are low vision who simply just need a magnification program on their computer. We give them a bigger monitor. They sit pretty close to it. However, if you don't have residual vision that you can use, you use a screen reader called JAWS. It stands for Job Access with Speech. And a lot of these seasoned agents will have that in one ear, JAWS, basically navigating their computer audibly and using hotkeys. There's no need for a mouse. I can't see a cursor. And then the customer in this ear, and they are, interpreting needs, responding to questions and inquiry. They are tracking notes, and they're, of course, filling, the downtime by, hey, how was your weekend? Kind of customer service principles there. And all of that working in concert together allows for us to do a great job for our customers. I mean, we haven't involuntarily lost a contact center customer in 7-8 years. So, if you would have asked me before I met Lighthouse, say 12 years ago, if you would have asked me what a person who's blind is capable of, I would have given an embarrassing answer. But, as soon as I found this place, and truly it probably saved my life based on how things were going when I met Lighthouse, anything's possible. And so we benchmark off of our sighted colleagues, because the call center, it's probably 50-50, 60-40 blind to sighted. So you have folks who are typically sighted like I am, working shoulder to shoulder with their colleagues who are blind. And what's really cool is that about 75% of our agents report up to a lead who's blind, and about 75% of those leads report up to a supervisor who's blind. And so this is a lot more than a job. It's a career. And luckily, I mean, I think our attrition relative to industry standards is remarkable. I mean, among our blind colleagues, we're probably south of 5%. And all of, I know you and all your colleagues are very well aware of the cost and the frustration and the setback that a high attrition can cause. And so this, not only helps us from a financial standpoint, training and recruiting standpoint, but also, it helps us develop subject matter experts. And you couple that with the empathetic listening that a lot of our folks are inclined to be good at, and you have a really cool combination. And what's really neat is we really bring to our customers some competitive advantages that they won't get in the open market because our workforce is unique, not in spite of it.
That's absolutely amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a good time. And some of the Genesis folks from the conference came and did a tour the day after, or at least the day after I was at Inspire. And I know I sent Shauna a video that I took of them seeing this screen reader in action. And it's the best way I can describe it is the voice rate is going faster than the voice at the end of a car commercial kind of thing. So you don't start at that level. But a lot of our seasoned agents, I don't understand what it's saying. And all the while they've got this duality where they're hearing that and navigating, sometimes complex systems, and then, staying tuned in with the customer, delivering great customer service. So I don't know. All I can say is we are very fortunate that we're not relying on Kyle to do that.
We actually saw the video. It's like they must have an extra sense in order to be able to process these things at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, well, and people, a common kind of misconception, people say, yeah, but when you lose your ability to see, your hearing gets better or whatever. And physiologically, that is patently false. However, you pay attention more to that sense, as you do with touch. I've received orientation and mobility training where, if you see someone with a white cane or a guide dog, they were taught how to move about their community, their building, travel, use public transportation, all those things from an O&M specialist. And so I went under blindfold. I think I was at Lighthouse probably 6 months and spent about an hour downtown navigating with the help of an O&M instructor and crossing busy streets. And, all the principles that I was taught it was just humbling. Cars feel like they're 20 feet tall going 100 miles an hour when you can't see them. And, and she had me cross roads and things downtown, but I was exhausted after 1 hour. And that was because I was so dialed into my hearing and the texture under my feet and the feedback from the cane, the tip of the cane, things like that. It was pretty wild.
Wow. So speaking of training, I want to talk about empowerment in a moment, but first, what kind of, and you also said that, agents who are more veterans in terms of how long they've been with Lighthouse are using JAWS, but what kind of training does it take to use that so you can focus on that while you're also having this conversation with the customer?
Sure. So at Lighthouse Central Florida, we teach something called assistive technology training. And so if they're going to be a JAWS user, maybe they have a degenerating condition. So they were a Zoom text user because they had the residual vision to use, and then they were progressively losing that. So we want to switch them and train them on utilizing JAWS. And that, can start with just simple web searches and creating a Word document, things like that. But there is a big difference between having received assistive technology training and having the assistive technology capability that would make you a good candidate for the contact center. So, we do meet candidates who say, oh yeah, I was trained, and you have to be so nimble with it and move really well through those systems because mind you, none of our customers, Universal Orlando, a couple state agencies, the Assistance Fund, None of them are doing this with the expectation that they're going to have to lose something on the value continuum, right? It has to start with value, performance, and quality. So we benchmark against our cited colleagues, and then we either meet or exceed that standard. But frankly, once you are trained, really it's down to just, mileage, giving yourself enough time to become fluid with that use of technology. And it takes some time. And frankly, considering 7 out of 10 Americans who are blind are not in the labor force, and the opportunities are so few for many, we have one standard, right? Performance standard across Lighthouse. It has nothing to do with your ability to see. There's a standard, and everyone is held to that standard. But we will invest heavily in additional training, coaching, things of that nature to help that individual succeed. And sometimes that's, funding their review of more assistive technology training. Maybe that's, our senior recruiter, Sophia, is totally blind. She started actually at the front desk, then in the contact center, then became a lead. And, she was one where wasn't quite ready for the call center. So we put her at the front desk, a lower stress opportunity to still have to engage and navigate, but without the pressure of handle times and whatnot. So, and she's just been a raging success. She's doing awesome. And right now she's responsible for bringing in 30 to 40 new candidates every couple weeks. And so she is a busy lady.
Wow, that is impressive. And so I want to go back to the people side a little bit. I know part of your vision, or your mission, is inclusivity and empowerment, and that is really clear in what you were saying before in terms of the staffing and the management and the support that you give in terms of training. Tell us more about, are there any other ways that you're putting that into action?
Yes, well, excuse me. So this coming to work at Lighthouse Works, if you're blind, I think one reason why we have so many referred candidates from others is that the accommodations are really well baked in. And luckily, we have a few colleagues who are blind who are, let's just say, they're very generous with their feedback if we don't meet the mark when it comes to accessibility and inclusion. But, empowerment and inclusion are 2 of our 5 core values. They are who we are, not who we aspire to be. And we measure ourselves against those core values. We look for those traits in candidates like other companies do. And then empowerment really, when you come to work here, this isn't a place, we're not doing anybody a favor. Our customers aren't doing us a favor. You've really got to swim and hit that standard, and folks are empowered to do that. And we also, from time to time, will pull people together, both sighted or blind, and workshop about, hey, how's this accessibility working in this pocket of the company, and dedicate ourselves to fixing it. And then really a big difference between our contact center and a lot of other blind call centers is our ability to write software. So a platform may or may not be partially or totally accessible. Few commercial products are fully accessible. So what does that mean? Well, if we're working for the Department of Children and Families, they have a platform that they're working in. Some of it may be accessible, but some of it may not be. And in the past, if everything was accessible, except for the soft phone transfer button, we couldn't do business, right? Because they aren't going to change their system to work with us. And so we really built a development team. Our senior developer is blind and brilliant. And so we will go in, we'll put low vision and sighted agents on a new contract. The wizard will go and review the accessibility and also the workflows. And he'll write what we call middleware, and it's just a software overlay that does not touch the customer's platform, but it allows us to train agents and navigate all the areas of that platform that they'll need in order to do the job. And then while we're in there, I always joke and say, well, while the hood's up, we look for workflow efficiencies, automation of certain behaviors. Just think, a caller calls and it's 4 clicks for a standard user. It's 4 clicks to verify their identity. Well, while he's in there, he'll write one hotkey that pulls all 4 of those data points up at the same time. So, I mean, I'm an English major and not a math guy, but one's less than 4 and faster. And so, these guys have done everything from that to one of the coolest accessibility solves that I've seen here is we were doing medical scheduling, over 100 doctors across 12 locations. Each doctor maintains their own kind of calendar that changes. If they're in this town, they take first-time appointments, but on Wednesdays, they don't take first-time appointments, and they're at a different office. So there's a lot of requirement on the agents to remember and be constantly updated for these changes. But here's the thing, the scheduling software is color-coded, and you have to search for, say, Cobalt for a first-time appointment visually. So Mike wrote a pixel correlation algorithm, a search engine, and a rules engine. And so, Ginger, you're there, you're sighted, you take a call. I'm next to you, I'm blind. I take a similar call, and the caller says, hey, I need to be first half of April on the west side of town. There are 2 locations over there. I'd like to have a meeting, first time appointment before lunch or whatever. Well, you are madly scrolling through the calendar looking for that color, the right color in the right pocket, and trying to remember, does Dr. Smith, do that on those days? Whereas I'm blind, I hit a hotkey, search engine comes up, I put in the specs, the range, and my screen just goes bing, and it lands on that appointment nearly immediately, and it skipped the earlier opportunity because it knew that Dr. Smith doesn't take first-time appointments on Wednesday mornings at that location. So it's just fascinating what can be accomplished with technology and how it can unlock tremendous potential in people that, frankly, on a day-to-day basis are people assume they're not capable of very much. And so we love demonstrating how that flies in the face of reality, that and our colleagues, be they sighted or blind, they work here, they have access to upward mobility benefits, you name it. And they work somewhere where they're treated as equals because they are equals. A difference in acuity or field of vision has nothing to do with one's intelligence and capability if properly trained.
Sounds like a fantastic place to work.
And I think
I'm a big nerd about it.
Incredible how much efficiency you can find when you're looking for accessibility from the start. Absolutely.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. And we actually have some of our customers have kind of said, hey, can we use that? Can we use those hotkeys because it's faster? Like the 4 pieces of data coming up all at once rather than 4 clicks. That customer utilizes that hotkey now. And that's just a kind of a spin-off benefit of trusting us with your customers. And, that's another point too on the accessibility development and things of that nature. Our customers do not pay for that. It's the cost of doing business for us. So it's, again, value, performance, and quality. And we cannot allow our needs from an accessibility standpoint to erode the value for our customer. The world doesn't work that way.
Absolutely. Well, Kyle, thank you so much for joining us in the green room. We loved the conversation. I think it's absolutely tremendous what you're doing at Lighthouse Works, and a really inspiring story about how, if you think about accessibility, you can serve customers and deliver really exciting careers. So thank you very much for joining us. And thank you for joining us in the green room. If you've been attending the live stream today, please do like, share, and tag your colleagues. And thank you again.